Tesla just dropped huge pieces of news earlier tonight in their annual Investor Day 2023. This was an over 2-hour event in which I took extensive notes on everything that they were saying around sustainability and optimizations around their factory, including their next gen models. And in this video, I'm going to explain my top points summarized so that you don't have to watch the full event. Now, if you want to watch the full video, it's I think 3 hours long and it's on YouTube. A lot of information went over people's heads, and that's testament to the fact that Tesla is down over 5% in after hours today. People felt a little bit let down by this presentation because they were expecting some huge tantalizing news, and what they got was Tesla actually explaining the science and the math behind how they're going to get to some of their ambitious targets. Now, these presentations by Tesla have become huge sell the news events. We've seen it with Cybertruck, we've seen it with Battery Day, we've seen it with AI Day, we've seen it with pretty much all of their major events where the stock runs up in anticipation of these events and then crashes after hours. And the reason why people sell is very simple. Number one, Tesla is a very complex and misunderstood company with regards to their AI segments, their full self-driving, their optimizations in terms of how they're building the product, the machine that builds the machine, all the way down their vertically integrated stack on how they're sourcing their materials to make their batteries that go inside those vehicles. So number one, they're misunderstood. Number two, analysts cannot model what Tesla is talking about. If Tesla came out tonight and they said, this is our new model, we're aiming to sell this for $40,000 and we want to produce 100,000 units by 2025. Analysts can then take all of those inputs and create a spreadsheet by which they can measure how much revenue Tesla can generate from this new model and then discount that back to what the stock should be trading at today so that they can update their price target. It's a very binary thing where if they can't model it, they're not going to include it into their forecasts at all. And this of course doesn't bode well because a lot of Tesla's targets are very ambitious and very long dated, and there's a huge execution risk associated with a lot of those points. It's not very easily modeled by these analysts. However, as a Tesla investor of many years, with my portfolio being around 50% Tesla, I feel more confident today than ever before with my investment, and I've actually gathered some of the main takeaways of the event. Let's jump right into those. Okay, so this is a very quick presentation that I just put together with some of my notes, which are very rough as the event just ended a couple hours ago. First and foremost, Giga Mexico was announced. This was something that was preemptively leaked by Mexico's president one day before the event. Tesla confirmed it in their event tonight. This factory will be the 5th Gigafactory in Tesla's lineup, located in Monterrey, Mexico, and it's actually going to be the first factory that's going to be producing the next generation vehicle. This factory is likely going to be Tesla's most efficient ever, given what they were saying around factory optimizations and learnings that they have gathered from Shanghai, Berlin, Austin. And quite frankly, if we read between the lines, knowing that this factory is going to be the first one to produce the next gen vehicle, we can then assume that the next gen vehicle is still about a minimum of 2 years out. Now, speaking of that next gen platform, Tesla highlighted a lot of tidbits throughout their over 3-hour presentation. However, this slide was really interesting to me because it highlights at least 2 new models. Of course, Mexico is going to build these next gen vehicles. The new models are going to be central to Tesla hitting their 20 million vehicles a year target that they are striving for by 2030 and may account for the vast majority of those deliveries. In other words, these 2 new models, Tesla wants to mass produce as much as possible, even more so than they're mass producing Model 3 right now. And it's very likely that one of these models is probably going to be the robotaxi. They also talked about efficiency with regards to full self-driving, considering the fact that today vehicles spend over 90% of their life cycle idle, parked while you're doing other stuff. Whereas with full self-driving and autonomy, this vehicle can then be unlocked in the form of a robotaxi to go be useful at all times of the day and night, even when you're not using it. So this is something that is top of mind with Tesla, and it's connecting their software portions with their hardware portions, with full self-driving as the connective tissue between those two. By contrast, the other model looks like a van of sorts. I know Elon has been a fan of the Mercedes Sprinter in the past, and so this could very well be some type of van or some type of higher occupancy vehicle. During the question and answer portion, the team said that they would also have a separate event just to talk about new product developments and launches, so a separate event just to unveil these two. During the Q&A, Elon also said that over the long long term, Tesla wants to overall have around 10 different models. And he doesn't agree with the fact that they should make new models just for the sake of making them. Each model should have some type of different function or role that they're used for. So 10 models is what we can be aiming for as a total fleet for Tesla in the long term. They also mentioned that the next vehicle platform, these next gen vehicles, are going to be compatible with any battery chemistry. And this is a very important point when you're thinking about those 4680 cells and the production ramp that's required for any next gen vehicle. The team spent a majority of the time highlighting optimizations in their process and production capabilities. Elon added that demand is a function of affordability, not of desire. And he also added that even small changes in the price will have a big impact on the demand. This was something that we validated in January, right? Tesla lowered their price very slightly and the demand skyrocketed to the point where they had to increase their price again. So the optimizations and cost savings that we're looking at here are very important because they trickle down to the margins around each of the cars that Tesla builds and sells. Now, in terms of vehicle production, Tom Zhu, Tesla's head of global production, said that it took us 12 years to build our first million vehicles, another 18 months to build the second million, the third million 11 months, and then less than 7 months to build the fourth million. In other words, Tesla has already produced their fourth million car. And on the next gen vehicle, they talked about the sustainability of this car, where, like I mentioned, any battery chemistry is accepted, a 50% reduction in footprint. And this all-in cost of $1,000 is referring to the drive unit cost with regards to their powertrain section. They said, quote, "We don't think any competitor is even close to matching those costs." And presumably this vehicle will be much cheaper than anything we have right now in the market for Tesla, as the costs and the production capabilities are both going to dictate what that production number is going to be and what that average cost is going to be for that vehicle. In terms of their factory, their VP of powertrain said that Tesla's next powertrain factory will be 50% smaller than Austin, however will have the same capacity. And all of these innovations are leading to efficiencies without any compromise on performance. And the way that they're doing this is that they're designing the car and the factory in conjunction. So the factory design is going to dictate the car design, and the car design is going to dictate the factory design. Mexico is going to be the perfect example of this, which is why I say it's going to be their most efficient factory to date, because they have all of these learnings and they have a blueprint for what that next gen vehicle is going to be. And they're going to combine both of those into a factory that they haven't started yet. They don't have any legacy debt, let's say, or infrastructure debt. They can build that in the most efficient way possible. One of the other things that was mentioned by Tesla's VP of powertrain was that the company is working on a new kind of drivetrain that is compatible with not only all battery cell types, but also a motor that is going to be built without any rare earth models required. So above here you have the Model Y and the rare earth minerals required to build that, whereas below you have a next generation permanent magnet motor that is not going to have any rare earths required. Now obviously this I think went over the head of many people in the room, but I think it's going to have a really big impact in terms of not only the efficiency but the cost effectiveness of that next gen vehicle. Elon spent a little bit of time talking about Tesla Bot. Of course, this is a fantastic video that they're showing just to see the bot's progress, because this is the same bot that on AI day could barely walk 10 steps and now is seemingly autonomous in terms of the tasks that it's doing. Elon reiterated during this section that they're the most advanced company in real world AI, and that nobody even really comes close to them in functional real world AI. The same AI that drives the car is located in the robot. Elon also mentioned they should be able to bring a product to market that is useful faster than anybody else with regards to the Tesla Bot. Moving away from the bot without burying the lead, the biggest focus area for this event was by far Master Plan Part 3, which is essentially Tesla's plan to go fully renewable. This was broken out into 5 phases. Elon highlighted that there's more than 8 billion people on the planet who can be sustainably supported on Earth today, and the fact that we only need half as much energy with an electric economy as we do with a combustion economy. And this 5-step plan was Tesla's approach to combat and eliminate fossil fuels. The plan consists of renewably powering the existing grid, switching to electric vehicles, switching to heat pumps, which I'll talk about in just a second, having high temperature heat delivery and hydrogen for industry, and sustainably fueling planes and boats. Now, one of the interesting segments was their third step, switching to heat pumps in homes, businesses, and industry. They mentioned that heat pumps just move heat around. They don't actually create heat. They're like a refrigerator in reverse, and it displaces all the fossil fuels in heating. Elon mentioned that at some point, we will make a heat pump for a home. So this is an interesting nugget that I think many people might have missed. The fact that Tesla is possibly looking at making a heat pump for the home as a new product. Over 50% of industrial heat is over 400 degrees Celsius, cement, refining, a lot of industrial uses. Creating and storing heat when renewable power is available. During peak hours, you'll have surplus energy, for example, and then transfer that heat in the process via these heat pumps. So I thought that Tesla moving into making some heat pumps for the home was an interesting transition, especially considering their energy storage business and how that plays into the whole ecosystem. The other point that I found was really interesting, and this is obviously more of a long shot speculation aspect, especially because we know Elon has talked about an electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicle, essentially talking about making an electric plane. They talked about sustainably fueling planes and boats. This was something that they acknowledged was a low impact effort comparatively to their other 4 steps and their optimizations in production, material sourcing, but it's also something in the back of their mind. Elon mentioned that to get long range aircraft and shipping to use lithium ion, you would need to essentially redesign the ship or the plane, similar to how an EV works compared to an ICE vehicle. You can't repurpose an ICE vehicle to become an electric vehicle. There's an entirely different architecture that's required to leverage that energy. So if you're thinking about electric boats and planes, there's an entirely new architecture that you have to think about, which made me consider the fact that Tesla could be thinking at electrifying other large-scale transportation vehicles, given the fact that it needs a fundamentally different architecture. Okay, so I hope I didn't keep that too dense. Again, this was a 3-hour presentation, so I really wanted to boil down to some of my key insights that Tesla dropped. Of course, one of the things that I'm going to be doing over the month of March and April is buying a whole ton more Tesla. That's just me personally, because I have a long-term time horizon and I really believe in all of these steps and the math behind the steps as to how they're going to get there and how they're going to achieve that goal. However, in the short term, Tesla's stock price might fall even further. I'm hoping to get something in the mid hundreds if I can get it. Fingers crossed, even lower than that would be even better. Because I just think that this is massively misunderstood by the market, number one. And number two, it's so long dated that nobody can really model this out in their spreadsheets to then discount that back to what Tesla's price should be from a price target perspective. Either way, I'm invested for the long term. I'm really excited. As I said, I've been holding Tesla for something like 4 years now, and I could not be more bullish than I was tonight, watching this presentation, taking extensive notes on it, and eventually coming up with this video. I really hope that you enjoyed watching this just as much as I enjoyed making it. For right now, this is the Fundamentals Investing Podcast. Thank you so much for listening.